Titterpigs, the RPG podcast. Am I getting paid for this one?
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Titterpigs. This is episode 13, our first one post-Gen Con.
Absolutely. It's been a while. I mean, we did have our live segment with, with our...
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, with our friends from Gen Con, where we kind of like gave a synopsis of our trip, and that was a lot of fun. So go to the Titterpigs YouTube channel to check that out. For those who were awaiting our kind of recap of the Any Awards, going over the winners as far as our picks, life happens. And so that's kind of run a little dry. And so we're just going to let that,
Yeah, we missed the boat on that one.
Exactly. So, but we are going to, continue onwards with other subjects and topics and interviews that we have coming up. What's been new with the Titterpigs? What's up with you, Keith? What have you been up to kind of since we had the little session with our mates from England and,
Oh, my God. Two things with Keith. First, I still keep acquiring things post-Gen Con, so yay me! I keep adding to my hoard of new books to read and review and things to run.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of running, I've been running a couple of playtest sessions of a new Grindhouse scenario that Alex Galat has run, so that's been fun. I forgot how much fun running playtest sessions is or is not, but hey, it comes with the territory when you do playtest. So
right.
It is what it is, but that's always fun. But hands down, the best thing is I'm gonna have to give a shout out to Magpie Games for their Wizard Kittens game. I bought Wizard Kittens on Debbie's recommendation,
right?
One of our friends from England, and I've been playing it with my wife and my granddaughter, and that's been a hell of a lot of fun. So
fantastic,
yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, so that's what I've been up to.
Cool.
How about you?
A few things, like you, I've not really been doing a playtesting. I mean, I did join in on the playtesting with you and Alex's game. And, it was fun. I have notes, but it's...
I know you have notes.
Not as much as the others did, but it still was a good time. And thus is, as you said, the way with playtesting. There's always going to be notes. Very rare is a game, that was magnificent. Don't change a thing from, right out the door.
We could do an entire episode on the value of playtesting.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But I mean, technically it should just be us going, well, yeah, and then just end it, because regardless of your opinion, playtesting is always going to be valuable. And anyone who thinks otherwise, But anyways, so a couple things. I'm just going to back this mic up a little bit because I think I'm a little bit loud here. But what have I been up to? So recently, I downloaded the PDF for the Dragonbane, the new game from Free League, the reissuing of the Swedish kind of version of Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, it's a fantasy role playing game, but
right. Yeah, I downloaded it too.
Yep, and definitely a different take. And enjoyed it. The rule system is different, not in a bad way, but I mean, it's nothing that anyone who merely has experience with, D&D 5e, let's say, couldn't, read and get up and running within, a few minutes. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's definitely deadlier than Dungeons and Dragons. The magic system and whatnot is definitely a different take on everything, but I enjoyed it. And looking forward to when it comes out. But on top of that, I have self-imposed a giant task on my head for whatever reason. I have no freaking clue. So I thought it would be a good idea on the heels of the RPG a day month that occurred, once a year last month. Where people, has a subject and they throw a little hot take out there, or some people make a video about it.
Every August, I hate it.
It's interesting, but it's a bit of a difficult thing because, you don't always have something to say about the subject, or you get busy. And so I thought, well, what would be easier than just simply recommending an RPG a day? So I decided to do that. But rather than just post a picture and say, hey, this is good because of a few words, I decided on my YouTube channel to utilize the YouTube short platform and, make a little video about it and make it fun and enjoyable. And, try to have a little bit of fun with it, not realizing that what I had imposed on myself was to make a little 1-minute video for the next 30 days or however many days there are in September. I just hit the 7th day, and believe it or not, it's a lot harder to make a little tiny 1-minute video saying something really good about an RPG and also kind of keep it a little bit funny and entertaining. So, yeah.
Because that 1 minute of video turns into about 15 minutes of post-production.
Well...
Or more.
Well, not only that, but several minutes of pre-production because, to be fair...
Well, there's that too.
You're trying to prattle off as much as you can and as quick as you can in such a small amount of time, and you get tongue-tied. You'll really screw up. You'll fuck a word up. You'll skip over something. I've had to write down a script, to read off because just off the top of my head.
God help you, bro.
So, and the format, at least, the application within YouTube and the YouTube Short is not that kind if you make a mistake. You can start over, but you can't, move your videos around in its format as it is. If you screw up, you kind of got to wipe the slate clean, start all over. So there's a lot of, if you want to talk about bloopers, if I was able to save every one of them, it would be like, and I'd like to and I would like to, son of a bitch, I would like to, oh, God damn it.
Yeah.
And then, or better yet.
Oh, God help you.
About the tail end of something where it's going to be perfect, a door opens, or Daddy! Or something like that. So
you need a studio. You need a real studio.
Yeah. Well,
can you convince your wife to move that electric car outside and turn the garage into a full-time studio?
Can you convince the sun to come up at night instead of the moon?
I'm still working on that. I'm still working on that one. I'll let you know how it goes.
So yeah, so that's kind of what I've been up to for the at least.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's.
I wish you luck in your last endeavor there.
Yeah.
On Dragonbane, I am very sad that I had to back out of the game at the last minute. However, I was spending quality time with my granddaughter, so that was awesome, and I got to play Wizard Kittens with her and the wife.
Yes.
So trade-offs. Yeah. I still got to play a game.
Yeah. So that's really important, and so
yeah.
Well, let's see. How about one other thing before we move on to the main subject? Because
Sure, yeah.
So what's one or two things that you've received in the mail recently?
Ooh. Okay, two things real fast. Judge Dredd books from the sale.
Okay.
So I bought all 4 of the Judge Dredd books that are available at Modifius's U.S. warehouse. They were less than a tenner plus shipping.
Right.
I think it were $9 and change for the core book, a scenario book, and 2 setting books in their current sale. I mean, they are like pennies on the dollar kind of sale. So I bought all 4. I don't even like Judge Dredd, but it's a sale. And I was buying some for my buddy because he's a Judge Dredd fan. So I'm like, why not? I bought them. I'll check them out. It's from Ian Publishing.
Yeah.
The Wone engine.
Wine? What's old is new. Yeah.
Wine. That's it.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. No.
Eventually. And then the other thing I bought is that massive Torchbearer 2 Game Master all-in Kickstarter package. It's like a $160 package. I got for a song and a dance off of an eBay auction group. Yeah, that was a steal.
Nice.
So
nice.
I'm super happy for that one. That was like $81 or something.
Ooh.
Plus
Oh, God.
the shipping was actually reasonable, even though it came out of Canada or whatever they call that place.
Now,
America's Top Hat.
Now, for those who aren't
for our Canadian friends.
Oh yeah. For those who aren't familiar with, the Torchbearer 2nd edition, special edition, Keith pretty much got a 50% discount on that. So that is amazing.
Oh my God.
That is amazing.
Well, off of retail I did,
right.
But I think the original package on Kickstarter was like what, $129 plus shipping.
Yeah.
Or $125. Currently retail is $160 plus shipping. It's currently on sale for $150.
Right.
From Burning Wheel headquarters website plus shipping. And I got it for like $81 plus shipping. And the shipping, because it ended up coming out of Canada, probably cost me about $5 more than it would have if I bought it in the U.S. So,
excellent.
I can't complain.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Cool.
What about you?
Well,
one or two things you got. Go.
Speaking of getting something for a song and a dance, I did pick up probably one of the I think currently maybe, but I mean, this is maybe if you're a Chaosium fan, but one of the most sought after collectors games, for your collection. And that is Ringworld, the Ringworld box set. I have not done an unboxing video of it yet. I'm going to do it, hopefully here within the next few weeks.
Dirty bastard.
And I can't talk. It came with the original dice. So there's the old school dice in the set. It's virtually unused. And the only reason I got it was just by luck. And I was just happened to be on eBay first thing in the morning and hopped on to, ending soonest. I'll look every once in a while and I'll sort by ending soonest. And, if there's a couple things that are still in there that 15 minutes left or whatever, and they're decent and no one's bought it, snipe it.
Yep.
But this happened to be on there and nobody had bidded on it. And I'm like, this is amazing. So then it was the starting price.
Wow.
It was the starting price. It was like under $100 for the thing. And so I just, I bid on it. And of course,
wow.
and I waited because those things, a lot of people, what they'll do is, with the last 15 minutes left, all of a sudden, 85 bids come in. So I'm like, well, if I don't get it, at least.
Oh, yeah. Bam, bam,
Yeah.
bam, bam, bam.
So,
Yep.
yeah. So I'm not
They
even,
come in a mile a minute. Yeah.
yeah, not even going into a bidding war for this one. But just, just do it on a lark. And then, the last 5 seconds hit. And then it's like, congratulations. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So there.
That's how I felt with this thing, with the Torchbearer 2 stuff. Yeah.
So there's that. And
What's the other one?
And I don't have it yet, but last weekend was Strategicon. I couldn't go, but my friend who owns a game store was, down there as he is, at every Strategicon. And I had asked his girlfriend who was there with him, would she mind going to the flea market, which is essentially where people come in, selling their used games and books and whatnot. The guy who was usually selling the old school stuff was there, and apparently he knows me because in asking, pricing for a couple things that he had, she's like, "Oh, I know him. He's my best customer." So she pulled out of the stack. Nothing looked really that that neat. The Price of Freedom they had. He had a copy of Troll Pack, I think it was, but he was asking a ridiculous amount of money. But he had a copy of Elf Wars, the supplement for ElfQuest, and I asked her, well, how much is it?
You're gonna send that to me,
Nope.
right?
Sure. It's on its way. So I asked how much, and it was like, well, I think he's asking $30 for him. I'll only take 25, and he took 25 for it. And so
Wow.
so that will be coming to complete my Chaosium ElfQuest collection. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah,
Wow.
So yeah, that's
nice.
Those are some new things that I got that I'm excited for. More as a collector than a gamer.
Yeah, no, good haul, good finds.
So
Good finds.
So yeah, so I mean, there we go. That's kind of what the Titterpigs have been up to in a nutshell, other than just everyday boring life stuff that we all deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Should we get on to our main topic now?
Let's do it.
All right, we will see you over there.
All right, here we are, main topic time. So Scott and I got a doozy one for you. We want to talk about what everybody else is talking about. We're going to take a little different angle. We want to talk about, Scott, what is it?
Free League's Dragon? No, we're here to talk about OneDnD. We are riding the coattails of every other podcast and YouTuber out there, and thought that we would like to throw in our own 2 cents on the whole thing. But I think we're not going to have a original take on it, but it might be a bit of a different take because sure, we may touch on the playtest materials briefly, but we're here to talk about more the overall impact of what the path that WotC and likewise their parent company Hasbro are deciding to go with the Dungeons and Dragons brand, in the immediate, in the near future, and what it might do, to not just its customer base, but the other, the industry itself of tabletop role playing games and such. So why don't we go ahead and start with let's talk about the bear in the room though, or the gorilla in the room. Which one's the proper term, Keith? I always get that confused.
I think it's called elephant in the room.
Whatever circus animal. Let's talk about the zebra in the room. All right.
Yes, let's talk about that chimpanzee in the room.
So let's touch on the the play test. I did.
Okay, let's do it.
For those who follow me, you've seen I did a couple tongue-in-cheek videos reviewing the playtest material with my son and his friends. My son and his friends are age 15 or 14 to 15 years old. They are part of a D&D club at their high school, which now after they did the rush for new members last week, there are over 100 members now.
Holy shit!
Right, it's absolutely insane. I mean, they
Oh my
literally
God.
every other weekend there's a variety of houses and other locations that are running D&D sessions of anywhere from 5 to 8 people.
Wow.
It's crazy, but
That is impressive. That's awesome. I'm jealous.
so yeah. So if you want to get next generation's opinion on what they think about it, check those videos out. But
Look out for the crocodile.
yes, look out for the well opinionated and articulated crocodile. Let me just pull the PDF up here. So
Right. So let me chime in real quick on the
Go ahead.
playtest. So
Go ahead.
Keith hasn't read the playtest. I'm not going to read the playtest. I didn't do it when Pathfinder 2e was doing it. I didn't do it when D&D Next was doing theirs to come up to 5th edition. I'm okay with the idea of a public playtest. People love being involved in it. And I'm all supportive of anybody that wants to be part of this public playtest. However, we're not going to spend the bulk of this podcast episode talking about the big changes, because there are some big changes,
right,
in how D&D or OneDnD 6th edition D&D, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Right, because they called it D&D Next for over a year and then called it 5th edition. So who the hell knows what we're going to call this in the end?
Well, Keith, you do know we've been informed there are no more editions.
Yeah, I know what they said. I watched the video too. I actually did my homework and watched the video. The day it came out, in fact. But I just want to say, though, yes, there are going to be changes, but they're going to be constant changes to the playtest packet. We could talk about one thing about the playtest packet today, and next week a new packet could be issued.
Right.
Even before we release this podcast, and everything we say right now is null and void. So that's why we don't want to talk about rules changes, because they're going to be potentially null and void by the time this episode issues. And is released. So
yeah. So I mean, there's a couple things on there that have been making their rounds, such as the current playtest rule of monsters in your game per the rules as written on this playtest no longer can crit on a roll. There's the changes of the feats within the system. There's the addition of how inspiration is handled. There's changes in how the dice are handled. What does a 1 mean as opposed to a 20? Critical hits and fumbles may or may not be officially part of the game, and so that's what a lot of people have been focusing on. And these are the people who actively play D&D. That's going to affect them or their table or other people that they're going to decide to play with. Not so much us per se, because
I guess we should preface all of this with that kind of thing, right?
Right. Yeah. Because Keith and I are not active 5e players. We do play 5e on occasion. I would say I run 5e for my son. I don't normally play 5e. I have popped into a couple games that are based upon 5e, but I don't actively play within what I would call your standard WotC Dungeons and Dragons 5e game.
Correct. And I'm the same way. I will play a 5e game like a one shot or a short story arc, or I might run something. I'm actually going to run something here that's a third party 5e thing. Campaign setting here for a short scenario here in the very near future, because I want to see how it functions and plays and feels, but it's not vanilla WotC stuff. So, but it does use obviously WotC's 5e base mechanics.
Right.
But
so,
I'm not an everyday player.
Right. So, I mean, I guess generally speaking is just my opinion on the playtest as is. So if this was published tomorrow as the core rule set, honestly, I don't think it would be something that I would enjoy. I think a lot of the changes to the mechanics of the game, I could care less about dwarves, elves, humans, whatever the case may be. If you're going to mash tieflings together, if you're going to mash, your your furry creatures, with your Azamar, whatever that stuff may be. That I don't care about that, because a game is a game. You can change all that, but the mechanics of the game and how they function and what people are going to adhere to, I personally feel it removes a lot of the potential for conflict within the game and the conflict resolution within the game, how it's managed, and kind of makes it a little lackluster, in my opinion, in how they're going with that. It just kind of...
Can we get even more lackluster than 5th edition?
Well,
I said that, didn't I? Sorry, listeners. Keith's not a huge fan of 5th edition.
Right.
I mean, it's okay. Mechanically, it's okay. I'm not a fan of WotC's campaigns and scenarios they put out. I just find them a little lackluster.
Oh, don't get
That's
me
a whole
started.
nother episode we can talk about. But
That's
for another day and another time.
Yes.
And a few more beers.
But some of the other changes, as they are good, I think. But I mean, on the whole, I'm trying to figure out where it is they want to go with the game itself, with the rules, with their not 6th edition. And I think there's a backlash. There's a backlash due to the last few books that they've put out. And I'm not talking about the ranting and raving people who are screaming, go woke, go broke nonsense. I'm not talking about, the right-wing assholes who are out there who just, feel that WotC is destroying the hobby. They're not. They're destroying D&D. They're not. But they're making changes to 5e where the 5e fans feel they're breaking their game. And there's a bit of backlash to that, which is evident with, the D&D club at my son's school. There's 80 to 100 kids who, a majority of them, look at the playtest, and they're already, the next generation of gamers who are going to be buying your stuff are going, I don't like this. Some of these changes are unnecessary. The changes to the mechanics don't make sense. And unfortunately, though, that generation doesn't have a voice, because
that is true, because it's our money they're spending.
Right.
But keep in mind, though, in the wider world, there is this idea, and I'm sure there's some scientific theory to it. Mm-hmm. I just don't know what it's called. You are comfortable with what you are comfortable with. So, right. They're comfortable in the case of your son and his D&D club, right? Those students
mm-hmm.
are comfortable with 5th edition D&D, right?
Yes. Okay.
But in general, they're comfortable with that version of the game.
To a degree, I'm just gonna pop in and say they're comfortable with it as a foundation. They themselves have moved on to making some of their own rules and modifications, which is kind of a natural progression.
It is, yeah, absolutely.
But the changes and modifications that they've made are not reflected by the changes that WotC is going.
Okay,
and
fair.
So I mean, they do like their 5e as a foundation, just like someone likes 2nd edition or 1st edition or 3rd edition or whatever as a foundation.
Right.
But
they got their house rules.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
But it's if you dynamically change something that they fundamentally think is a sound principle,
right,
they're going to be resistant to that change. It doesn't matter if it's in their D&D or if it's in the type of car that they like. If you dynamically change the way that the dashboard is oriented, like why are we calling miles per hour now kilometers? That's dumb, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be resistant to that change.
Right.
I see it every day in work because of the job that I have and who I work for, which we don't need to discuss. But a lot of times we change for change's sake just because somebody wants to get promoted.
Right.
It's literally for change's sake, and it doesn't make any rational sense. But a lot of times it's people just going, why do we have to change? We've been doing it this way for a long time, and we like the way this is.
Right.
So when there is change happening, people naturally get resistant to change, and I think that's a lot of what's happening. Think back to when Pathfinder did their, they had Pathfinder 1E was bloated. The whole market was saturated with their book of the day club. It wasn't even a book of the month club. It was a book of the fucking day club.
Right.
And all of a sudden they're like, put the brakes on. We're going to have an open playtest for a 2nd edition. And everybody went ape shit crazy.
Right.
What do you mean? We don't need a 2nd edition. And then, half the world's like, oh my God, yes, we're so bloated with 1st edition. let's fix first edition and let's have the second edition. You know, you get 50-50 club here. And now everybody's kind of like, oh, okay, fifth or second edition is, it's not so bad. Keith still doesn't do Pathfinder because I don't need a PhD in mathematics to play.
Right.
We had the same problem when we went from 4th edition to 5th edition. We're going to, and people kind of acquiesced and accepted 5th edition. We're going to see the same thing here. Whether we like it or not, we can call this a 6th edition. We can call this OneDnD or Tiddlywinks D&D. I don't care what the hell we call it in the end.
Right.
Or no edition D&D, whatever it is, because they say everything's going to be backwards compatible, except you got to buy a new monster manual, DMG, player's handbook.
Well, that's the thing, because I think what a lot of them are asking for is, not necessarily, they're not putting up a wall because of change, but like we want to know why. There's a lot of these changes that are occurring that I'm sure they may be in somewhere in the designer notes, but some of the ones where they're going, well, why does this need to be changed? Why are you changing this? If something isn't broken, what's the point of this? And like you said, it very well could be just someone justifying their job. Someone needs
their
to do
messaging
that.
right now is non-existent.
Right.
They need to look at other game companies since we're talking about the mechanics right now, right?
Right.
They need to look at somebody like Chaosium who has their designer diaries.
Right.
Or GMT Games, which is not even a role-playing game company. They're a war game company, and they do some general like Euro style board games from time to time. And they have a designer's diary series that they publish either in their house organ magazine or through their website or their email newsletter that talks about their design theories and design decisions, why they're doing what they're doing and what goes into it. But Chaosium's really good about that. Now it comes later in the design and development cycle.
Right.
But Chaosium's messaging right now, or sorry, not Chaosium, but D&D's messaging right now, WotC's messaging, other than that video they put out the other day, what, 2 weeks ago, as of this recording, 2.5 weeks ago, maybe, has been non-existent.
Right.
And
or minimal.
What's
I
that?
mean, I said or minimal, or just, the occasional, tweet of don't worry, everything's going to be okay kind of tweet,
Oh,
that kind
yeah.
of. But I mean, that's not
Keep calm and
addressing
carry
the issue.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
I was just going to say their messaging is they're not doing themselves any favors in conveying in terms of their platform messaging of why we need a new edition. I'm not saying we do or we don't. I'm not advocating one side or the other here with that we do or we don't need a new edition. There are things that I don't like about 5th edition. There are things that I do like about 5th edition.
Right.
But does it warrant a new edition? I don't know.
Right. Exactly. So you said a key word there, which I think might kind of roll us into another subject, steering away from the mechanics, but it kind of does, in a sense, backwards compatibility. That's one of the things that they touched upon in their video. Hey, all of you 5e fans, don't worry. All of your stuff, all of those hundreds of dollars of books that you've bought over the years, the years of subscription that you've paid to D&D Beyond, all those characters that you spent meticulous amount of time creating, the 855 pages of backstory that you wrote are going to be backwards compatible. Don't worry about it. But and I know this is going to sound a bit dumb, but backwards compatibility doesn't necessarily mean forwards compatibility. Will my 5e stuff function with the OneDnD Bond or OneDnD Beyond? Well, there you go. It's the whole thing. The OneDnD stuff that you're eventually going to create, or is it going to be behind some sort of paywall, or is it going to be, is it going to require me to do some heavy lifting? Yeah, I could take the kind of comforting hug of saying, "Don't worry, it's going to be backwards compatible." Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to fit like a glove.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Right.
And where do I go with this? So Call of Cthulhu is backwards compatible, but older material is is forward compatible with the new edition, but you have to multiply stats by 5 to convert it to the new mechanical standard. That's easy. Is there going to, because that's really all there is for the conversion, and some older stats don't exist, older skills don't exist, and so on and so forth. But it's very, very minimal. It's super easy to convert that stuff on the fly.
Right.
But I don't know. We don't know what we don't know right now, because this thing is only a few weeks out the gate. as far as playtest material and subject to lots of changes.
Right.
So that being said, is Curse of Strahd or Radiant Citadel or Spelljammer or any of these other things, Stormcloud, what is it, Storm Giants or whatever, are these things going to function as written, or OneDnD, are they going to require work and prep, heavy lifting on the part of the Dungeon Master to make it work?
Right.
Hence, backwards, forwards compatibility.
Right.
Or can you do it on the fly like you can with Call of Cthulhu? I don't
Right.
know.
Or we have a conversion for you, for $15 a month to D&D Beyond, you can log on and get that conversion. So I think that kind of rolls into, another thing.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
The
All right.
D&D Beyond thing, because I have lots of hate for D&D Beyond.
Right. So WotC bought D&D Beyond, and doesn't come as a bit of surprise at all. And so, but with that, comes some changes and some announcements after the acquisition of D&D Beyond and their announcement of OneDnD. And some of those changes are a bit head scratchy because people start asking, well, for those of us who, enjoy playing either physically at a table, we'll get into the VTT stuff later, but for those of us who enjoy books, pens and papers and dice, and we want to play physically at the table with our physical stuff and not have to worry about, having an iPad or a laptop there unless we just want to reference something rather quickly. It sounds like your attention is going to be towards those who are paying you a monthly subscription, and future projects or, supplements are only going to be acquired if we either subscribe to it or we're going to have to purchase it extra digitally, and amongst other things. And that got a lot of people worried, it seems. Is that kind of how you took it?
I took it similarly. I think the jury's still out on that one.
Right.
Because we just don't know what the future looks like. I do know from watching the video and what I heard, so in the future, when you buy a physical book from for OneDnD,
right,
and you want that physical paper book, which would be my preference, if you're willing to pay an upcharge, I think it was like $9.99 or something like that, you can get the digital version now. Finally, that is now becoming an option,
right,
for a small fee. Right. Still think it's bloated. $9.99 or whatever, $9.90 or something like that, to get it up to like 1 or 2 weeks early. I think it was 1 week earlier in advance, like if you pre-ordered it basically through D&D Beyond.
Right.
I see that as not a terrible thing, because at least if you're buying the physical book and you want to have the digital book, you're not having to pay the full,
double cost,
$50 again, or wait for a sale and get it for $30. You know, you're able to get it for a tenner now, basically. So I think that's not so bad. However, I got a feeling they're shifting their business model more, like you're theorizing, right? You're speculating more towards that digital platform,
subscription base. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money to acquire it. Millions of dollars to acquire it. They're going to get their damn money back out of it and make a profit. Right. It's not going to be a loss leader for them.
Right.
What I'm scared of is that for the friendly local gaming stores, the volume of physical books available through distribution will slowly start to draw down in favor of pushing people towards the digital books. That's what I'm fearful of.
Right. That, and also the acquisition you're talking about, if the digital, companion towards the physical book, my understanding is that can only be done if you purchase it, through WotC.
Correct.
So if you go and buy the book, I mean, the physical books are still going to be around for some time, but if you go and buy a physical book, from their new edition, you do not get access to it. Now
that's the way I took it. If I go buy it from my local gaming store, who's a WotC premier store, because they do the magic and whatever, they get the the limited edition covers and all of that.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to, at least from what I heard in the video, at least initially, there's no caveat for those that go support the local gaming stores.
Right.
To get a digital version.
Right. Now that
for a tenner.
Now, that may change because that did put a lot of people up in arms. But WotC, like, as you said, they're being a bit mum on the issue. And there's a lot of legitimate concern out there that, it really should be addressed, not when it comes out in 2023 or 2024, but there's a lot of people that are going to be sweating. And like with anything, the longer you stay silent, the more people are going to speculate, and people are going to start dropping off too. It's like, why this is not the business model that, I'm comfortable with. And it's also predicated by the vultures of a similar business model, which is, the online gaming business model, a lot of the subscription-based stuff, a lot of the loot boxes, the pay-to-win games, all of these things that are generally designed to, allow those who, who have access to extra funds, they have access to premium content that, generally speaking, should be part of the game itself. It shouldn't be tiered off and, put behind a paywall for those who can't afford it. And that's another thing that people are kind of speculating about that WotC's going to do. I buy, Curse of Strahd 2, right? And I just, I get the book. I don't subscribe to D&D Beyond, so I just get the book, and there's like, fantastic. And so there's, you play the game, you're having fun, and then your players here, hey, guess what? They're coming out with, some additional content for it. Great. When is it coming out? Oh, it's not. It's only for sale on D&D Beyond. Well, I don't want to subscribe to D&D Beyond. Well, we want to play that extra content. Well, I don't, and the players don't subscribe to it. And so it kind of creates this odd scenario.
You could get some animosity from between players and game masters if that does end up being the case, which we don't know that it will.
Right.
I can see that being the case with their virtual tabletop.
Well, that's another...
And microtransactions.
That's another cheetah in the room. It's
I prefer to call them groundhogs.
So one of the most solid bits of information out there that there's really no speculating about is the virtual tabletop. Now, I know what they provided and they showed, generally speaking, a work in progress. We all know anything virtual when it comes to video games or whatnot, any presentation can change at a moment's notice, and the end product could look differently and function differently and all that. But the big thing about it is, one, it's being written in the Unreal Engine 5. And, for those who aren't aware of that, that's a beefy requirement for people who just have common every place computers. The functionality people have from just running a browser-based program from like Roll20, or even, some people who, are running things such as
Foundry?
Fantasy Grounds, Unity, and Foundry don't even come close to the graphic requirements of what that's going to have. But then that opens up another area of speculation of like, okay, wait a minute. So now I'm going to have to pay a subscription to D&D Beyond. If I want to, there's the freebie, but, anyone who's going to start, accumulating stuff and uses it, a lot, they have some sort of subscription of sorts. Sure, I can share my material with people who have, a similar account and whatnot, but still you're paying out of pocket. Is there going to be, extra materials that I'm going to be paying extra cash for that? But now my players want to play on this virtual tabletop. And so now I'm going to have to start building this engine, buying modules for that, or rebuying modules. But then I'm going to have to buy content for that too if I want to start creating something of my own. And at the end of the day, all that time that I put into creating this adventure isn't mine. The moment that
it's not portable outside of that platform.
No. And the moment I cancel my subscription, it's not mine anymore. All that money I put in, the moment that I don't really want to play online anymore, or something else happens, it's gone. You don't have access to it anymore. I've got access to my books, but all this virtual content that that you kind of are paying $1 here, $15 there, $13 there, all adds up over time, and in a blink of an eye, it can go away, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And so that's what a lot of other people are kind of like.
Well, what happens if D&D Beyond? What if WotC decides 5 years from now we're going to shut down D&D Beyond? What happens if they just say, "Fuck it, we're done with it. It's a failed business model for us. We're going to shut it down"? Well,
Keith, didn't you read that 85-page agreement, that you checked at the bottom of the box before you signed up for it? It's all in there.
Nope, because I didn't sign up for it.
No, I'm saying...
so I don't give a shit if they shut down.
But I mean, I'm saying when you do, or for those who have, and nobody reads that shit. I'm sure it's in there somewhere, and most people kind of have a general idea about that. But, It's the same with all of the
Sure. No, I know where you're going,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
But my point was going to be if I've bought every D&D book to date that they've released digitally through that platform,
Right.
and I've only have them digitally, and they shut that platform down tomorrow,
Right.
and they've offered me no way to extract those books even as a PDF.
Mm-hmm.
I have lost hundreds of dollars,
Right.
to the tune of over $1,000
Mm-hmm.
that I have nothing to show for.
Right.
Why do you think Keith buys Dead Tree books?
Right.
I can at least sell those sons of bitches.
Right. And
I can attempt to recoup my money. They still have value.
right. And which the companies who provide physical books and likewise PDFs for it, you still have your product regardless. I mean, if my house burns down tomorrow, and nothing happens to my computer, at the very least, all those PDFs that I have that were associated with those books that I bought, I still have the content, or I've saved it to the cloud.
Yes.
But like you said, if I don't own the physical books and I've gone 100% digital and something tragic or something changes,
Right.
that they have every right to do within the disclosure agreement that you checked off and didn't read when you signed up,
Yep.
it's gone. And most people, deep down inside realize that, but they just, they don't think about
That
it.
gut-wrenching feeling, if and when it ever does happen,
Right.
it's horrible.
Right.
Yeah.
But on top of that, they're still following. I think they're the only one who, generally speaking, still doesn't follow what is the functioning model of most of the industry, and that's we have PDFs to accompany our physical books, not a digital behind a paywall. That you can only access through your, if you sign up through us, and
Right.
and there's reasons for that I won't speculate upon. But for me, whatever the reason they have is not acceptable. There's no reason why that you can't have
Yeah.
a PDF of any of the Dungeon Dragon books through a bricks and mortar program, just like everyone else. None. Other than the fact that they want you to pay them to access the digital content, and they have control
Right.
over it. So
That is, I'm in agreement with that. Yeah. That is definitely the leader in the room.
So there's a lot of corporate mumbo jumbo going on here. There's a lot of things that people are willing to kind of like overlook, I guess, or might be, and this may be a bad term, but maybe willfully ignorant of, or just generally ignorant of, and could care less. That makes up a lot of the core market of D&D, I suppose. Is it going to impact others within the industry? This model that they're going to, is it going to have a negative impact? Will it have a positive impact on this direction that they potentially could be going towards?
God, I mean, that's a fair question. Both sides of it are fair to ask. I mean, I think, well, let's look at the local game stores, right? You and I both have a close friend who owns a local game store. So thinking of our friends who own game stores, I mean, what's the impact of if the shift is, let's just say hypothetically, a shift does happen away from, not all, because I don't think all digital or all physical books will go away. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I do think there will be some shift away from it to some extent. How much? Probably not much. I think they want to drive more and more people to the digital platform. If that means buying the physical book direct from WotC, and then for a small upcharge, they get the full price from the direct sale. They don't have to pay a middleman because they're getting the full price direct from the consumer, and the upcharge for the digital. Then they cut out the local gaming stores,
which we've seen happen to a degree with the Amazon pricing. Why?
Right. Well, I mean, we see it when it doesn't matter who it is, Modifius, Cubicle 7, Chaosium, all the big players, all the small players, indie publishers, doesn't matter who they are. And nobody's exempt from that, from this next statement. Whenever a game company puts a game up for pre-order or initial offering, and you order direct from them, and there's some little incentive, whether it's a sticker, a bookmark, an extra PDF, a pre-order incentive, or whatever it is, and you order direct from them, they are getting full profit, and they're not losing any kind of profit margin by having to go through a distributor or deal with Amazon or any of those other big, distribution points.
Right.
That could have a direct impact, most likely negatively, but if there is some retailer incentive for those books to be bought at a retailer, and then there's a coupon code in the book or something to get the digital through D&D Beyond, I don't know. That has not been mentioned,
and
so who knows?
It depends.
I would like to see
Sure.
it go that way.
It depends. It depends on how many people make a stink about the situation, because let's be honest.
Everybody
Right.
make a stink, because we need to keep those local game
Absolutely,
stores in business.
because let's be honest. For
Without them, WotC can go fuck off.
Well, yeah, but for every person who says, I only buy from a friendly local game store, there's another person who says that, but they don't, because
Right.
why go out and spend $50 when I can get it for $25 online? I mean, that's.
Yep.
And I get it. I mean, it's not your job to keep a business afloat, but if you can and you can afford it, that's where you should be doing your business, without question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I buy everything from my two local game stores? No. Do I make it a point to go to each of them periodically and buy something?
Yeah.
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah. So I mean, the impact also of the D&D Beyond and the virtual tabletop, offering is going to have an impact on the virtual tabletops that we use. The Roll20, Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, all of which, if I'm not mistaken, do provide licensed products from WotC through their platform, and they've got to be sweating right now a bit because
I would imagine.
Where's the incentive other than just, adding a few couple coins to the giant pile of money for them to still provide them with the license to do something that they exclusively want, your customers' money for? They don't.
So here's the incentive as I see it. Because they're licensees, they are giving WotC a cut. So I don't think WotC gives two shits on how they get the funds.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if you and I want to play Curse of Strahd through Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds or what have you, one of us with a license goes and buys the module. WotC's going to get a cut. So I don't think it matters to WotC what platform we play Curse of Strahd on. They're going to get their cut when we buy that module. So I think in the long run, I don't think it's going to have an impact on that, because they're not going to care.
But customer base, though.
Because,
Oh, no, I was going to say it may not have an impact on their licensing of their products anymore. They'll still let them, sell their products, but the potential loss of customers. Why should I use Roll20 when WotC has the new Shiny?
When they realize that the new Shiny can't run on their computer.
That's not it. That's not everybody. But yeah, that's the other thing. But still, if your computer could run it, and I have this wonderful, 3D dynamic lighting stuff, shit that I don't even need to set up. I just have to buy, certain things, point and click, drop it in, and I'm good to go. I don't have to worry about all of the middle management aspect.
Yeah, till everybody realizes that you have to not even the server, every client connecting to it, whether it's oh my God, Fantasy Grounds, right? Because it's client server based, right? Same with Foundry's client server based, right? But Roll20 is web based. So whether it's client server based or web based, but if you yourself have to have a machine that can run a graphic intensive 3D environment to generate the visuals that it showed us in that video, assuming that it looks like that. Holy shit. That's a $3,000 to $4,000 machine in today's prices, because everything's still so expensive. I'm not going to sack this machine, even though I should, because it's old. I'm not going to go spend $3,000 or $4,000 on a machine. You know how many game books I can buy for that, and how much more fun I can have than to buy a machine just to play D&D? No, thank you.
Welcome to not being the target demographic, though.
I am not the target. You know what? We could have said that up front.
No,
we are not the target
absolutely,
demographic
without question. I mean, we are. We're having opinions on what the big story is, but we both
get off my lawn, you little
bastards! Don't fool ourselves one iota. We know we're not the target demographic for what it is they're going for. But as mentioned earlier, they need to make note, because their target demographic currently, they're eventually going to move on, and their next target demographic, i.e. my son and his friends,
who are fixing to get their first jobs and start spending their own
money.
They're
not happy. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of they're not happy with the direction that it's going, and if they're going to ignore that, which they've done in the past. I mean, they've definitely done that in the past. I mean, their last few D&D little get-together sessions, were generally set for the 21 and over crowd. Their little get-togethers they've had a couple years ago, to announce new products and whatnot.
God, yeah.
But they will be, card-carrying members of the workforce, and they will have money to spend, and they may not want to because, you didn't listen to them. But yeah.
Yeah, well, they'll have to pay that price. I mean...
So yeah, it's...
We'll see. We'll have to see what... Now, let's kind of bring us all back to kind of where we were at the beginning, because we're getting long in the tooth here, but we don't know what we don't know. There's just a lot we don't know. Yes, the packet has been dropped. The first of the playtest packets has been dropped, right? The Unearthed Arcana packet. We've seen one video, and they've been mum is the word pretty much, other than a few random rando tweets. So we just don't know a lot. Like, we don't know what their messaging is. It's non-existent. We don't know who their target demographic is. It's haven't
all over
said,
the place, yeah.
Because, I mean, it really could be all over the place. We don't know why they want to make these changes, because they're not messaging that. Just that, we want to make some changes. And you're going to have to buy 3 new books, at least. If you're a player, at least one new book, and I get that they want to overhaul, what is it? Was it Perkins who said they wanted to overhaul the DMG needed an overhaul to make it more usable, which I don't disagree. The current DMG sucks.
That's true.
I swear I stand by that the DMG sucks and it needs an overhaul. So if you got to overhaul one book, and if you're going to make minor mechanical tweaks to it, does that spread across the monster manual and the player's handbook? I mean, and that may be what's driving some of this stuff. I just don't know. But again, their messaging is non-existent.
And that's a problem. I mean, that's a big problem. I mean, a lot of the changes that they've announced seems disconnected and vapid to a certain degree. It's almost like, look at this wonderful stuff. Aren't we awesome? We are so awesome. Boop, and then pressing the stop record button and putting a out of town messaging on their emails.
They need to be messaging like retailers. How is this new product going to impact them favorably? Is there drive to push people to a digital product? If it is, how is that going to impact retailers? Is it going to change the quantity of books available in distribution? Is it going to increase, decrease? Are consumers going to be able to get a code to get the digital book if they buy from their retailer, their local retailer, versus buying from Amazon? Does that incentivize to go to the retailer versus buy from Amazon? I mean,
it's just,
so they got to do some messaging.
I don't know. I think on a whole, my interpretation of it is not necessarily they're making the wrong choices or making wrong decisions. It just seems their focus on it is a bit narrow. I just, like you said, there's no clear identification of who they're doing what for, because it bounces all over the place between the changes in the playtest, between the direction they're going with their virtual content, between what they're proposing might be happening in the near future or may not be happening. And, these aren't, 15,000 fans of a product. I mean, these are, millions of people who, some of which will just do whatever you say. Some of them are getting a little bit older and their needs or wants are changing. And then the next generation have their own needs or wants, but it seems they're just kind of focusing on the moment and not really, addressing it in the long term. So yeah.
Sure. Yeah. No, I wholeheartly agree.
So yeah, that's kind of a couple of old guys' opinions on what.
God, we are those guys now, aren't we?
So yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, I know there's been so many people, tossing out their 10 cents, and I've seen ridiculous videos. I've seen some well thought videos, but to the listeners of Titterpigs, what do you guys think? Send us a voice message, send us an email, hop on our Twitter, tell us that we're completely wrong in everything that we say and we should stop breathing right now. Or, tell us that, you may agree with some of the things that we've said or we don't, and tell us why, or just tell us you wholeheartedly agree. And we will definitely, reward you, in kind. Yes, we are not above bribing people to listen to our podcast. So,
Scott will
right,
totally
exactly.
bribe you.
Exactly. So there we are. So, well, I think, we've prattled on enough about this. So what do you say we run over to our next segment and just, say adieu?
We are going to wrap up this episode. Yeah, Scott, I mean, that was a good chat on OneDnD, 6E, whatever the heck they're going to call it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeesh.
It feels good. I feel like I've been, it's been a while, so we haven't had a moment to stretch our podcasting brain and have a discussion.
I know. It feels good to be back in the studio, man. Like,
yeah. It's
stretch out the muscles.
It's a bit of an exercise. It's kind of like, it's kind of like lifting weights and you haven't done it for so long that you put too much on and you're kind of struggling a little bit to kind of,
I was in the gym today. I was struggling.
Yeah. So, but no,
this is a good workout.
It's a good workout, and hopefully it comes off as such, and not just us breathing.
We are officially two old guys now. Get off my lawn.
I know. So,
no, it was a good chat.
Yeah.
I think talking about it was good to get some of those pent up points off of our chest.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a little better.
Right.
Little cathartic exercise.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what do we have coming up in the future for Titterpigs?
Oh my God, we got a lot of things. Mm-hmm. What do we have? We are going to bring on Pat Mooney from Flagbearer Games to talk about Nations and Cannons. Mm-hmm. Speaking of 5e and D&D, they have created a 5th edition campaign setting. So we're going to bring Pat Mooney on to talk about his campaign setting. Mm-hmm. Don't know if it's just going to be him or some of the other design team, but at least Pat Mooney. Mm-hmm. I think we managed to arrange to get Kenneth Height on.
Yes. That
was one of Scott's finaglings.
Yes, I've the one time I'm actually being rewarded for having a bit too much rum and getting snarky on Twitter. So hey,
yeah,
sometimes those things work out. And subject wise, I think one of the things that we're going to touch base on also, aside from having guests, is player etiquette. And how to be a good player. There's a lot of stuff out there of DM responsibility, DM this, GM that. But I don't think there's enough people who kind of turn the mirror on themselves and say, am I a good player? Am I treating those around me? And likewise, this wonderful, wonderful person who's taken the time out of their busy life to entertain me and dance when I say dance. So yeah, we'll be touching base on that hopefully in the near future.
And we've got a few other cards up our sleeves. Mm-hmm. We're still kind of putting some final ink on the little bits to kind of work out some final details. So we're not gonna divulge those quite yet, whether they be people or topics. But we are working a few things.
Good, because I have no idea what you're talking about. But go on.
No, but I do.
Excellent.
But we're working a few. We got a few other irons in the fire.
Yes.
So we are working a few things for your listening pleasure.
All right.
When you get the chance, if you could, listeners, if you can go over to anchor.fm/Titterpigs, and we have that message button. Smash that button. Leave us a voicemail. Yep. Just remember, it's in like 60-second increments. But if you'd like to have us or tell us a topic you'd like us to talk about, you can leave us a message there. Whatever you want us to talk about, we're happy to entertain people you'd like to hear us interview.
Right.
Bring on the show as guests, topics you'd like us to talk about. Or if you'd just like to leave us a comment about an episode or something you agree with or disagree with, don't forget to just smash that button and leave us a message.
Excellent. So now's the point where the music I selected to ride us off into the sunset will slowly fade away.